2 of our summer celebration tour, and we have a great crowd out here at the Carson County Courthouse.
We certainly do. Of course, I'll tell you a bit about Panhandle. It is the home of the Panthers. We have a population here of a little under 2,500 people, and of course, we're about 27 miles to the east of Amarillo along Highway 60.
And so if you're in the area, we would love for you to come on out here because we've got a great day full of activities. And a lot going on out here, Walt.
Yeah, we said a little under 2,500, and I think most of them are here at the Courthouse Square this evening. Great turnout, too.
I think so. Well, we'll be back out here in just a little bit. For now, let's send it back to the studio for a look at some local headlines.
Alrighty, thank you, guys. One infant is dead and another critically injured after being left in a hot car for more than an hour. Police arrested 31-year-old Sandy Taylor and her mother, 62-year-old Mary Taylor, yesterday in connection with the death. The two women run a daycare in Portales and are said to have accidentally left the kids inside the hot car after returning from the park. Both women face charges of abuse of a child, resulting in death and bodily harm. A GoFundMe has been set up to help the family. You can find a link to it at our website, newschannel10.com. Well, an official statement concerning the status of Ruby Tequilas has been released by the company. In a letter from parent company Fired Up Holding, the company says it terminated all contracts it had and has stopped operation of the restaurant chain. Fired Up bought the company earlier this year and took control on May 1st. The Texas State Tax Authority claims they have not received payment from the sale of alcohol, and employees claim they have not been paid. Ruby Tequilas is currently disputing the claims. The company is not sure if they will recover. 2 people are behind bars after officials say narcotics were found in an Amarillo home. Officials say a search warrant was conducted on a residence in the 300 block of Northwestern. The sheriff's office says methamphetamine, THC, wax, and morphine were found inside. A 52-year-old woman was booked on 3 felony charges, including possession of a controlled substance, and a 45-year-old man was booked on 2 felony charges, including manufacture and delivery of a controlled substance. Both suspects are awaiting arraignment on these charges. Well, as you saw before, we are live in Panhandle with a look at our forecast. Let's send it over now to Chief Meteorologist Doppler Dave Oliver at Summer Celebration. Hey, Dave.
All right, it is official. We've got the Panhandle Panther with us. So to help me do this little bit of weather, we're having a great time out here. Thank you for your hospitality there, Panther. Let's take a look at radar because we're scanning around. There's a little bit of rain in the area, not really breathing down our necks right now, but if we take a look there on Super Doppler, scanning around, pretty quiet around Panhandle. We're going to back that up a little bit, though, and take a look. We've had some storms not too far from Amarillo, at least in Potter County there out to the west and northwest. We'll watch those. If nothing else, we're going to cool things down a little bit with some cloud cover. If you do happen to be underneath one of these, watch out for that lightning. That's always a threat this time of year. And now let's zoom way back out. And we have some storms. It's kind of on the periphery of our area. We had some up in Beaver County that issued a severe thunderstorm warning on those. So watch out for rain, strong winds, maybe some hail. We have some activity coming in from New Mexico into the western part of the area. We're going to keep tabs on that also. But we have a real treat. This is kind of an unusual way to do the weather. We're tag teaming. Next up is going to be Prowl and Alan Gwynn doing the main weather here in just a few minutes. We have a lot more coming your way from Panhandle. Right now, over to news.
All right, Dave, thank you very much. Now, before Amarillo had its westbound railroad, Panhandle was the railroad hub for Santa Fe and the farthest west anybody could come on Santa Fe.
Pretty cool. News Channel 10's Shannon Smith spent the day in Panhandle. She learned quite a bit about the city's history, and she joins us now live to tell us about some of that history. Shannon?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time here in Panhandle and found out that this is a really rich railroad history here with Panhandle, and that's really when it thrives during the oil boom in the 1920s, but it's only gotten stronger ever since then.
It wasn't long after Panhandle's start in the late 1800s before people started flocking to the town to work in oil fields here and in Borger and Pampa at the height of the oil boom. At that time, at its peak in the 1920s, Panhandle had a population of around 30,000 people.
A majority of people living in tents since housing was pretty hard to come by. Santa Fe had large railroad spurs across here that all came into Panhandle to Borger, and the oil fields had to come through Panhandle.
During this time was the heyday of downtown Panhandle's Main Street, where the popular restaurant chain Papado's got its start, and the original building still stands today. When the oil boom died down and the industry moved away from Panhandle and into Borger and Pampa, the town quickly began to shrink.
It was cheaper to move a house out of Panhandle to Borger than it was to build a house in Borger. So they said it was the daily occurrence. You'd see a house picked up and moved to Borger. And as a result, it put Panhandle kind of in a tailspin.
Panhandle remained a commuter train hub through the 1970s when it became just a freight train town and the depot was transformed to become City Hall. The city's population now hovers around 2,500 people, but the sense of community is stronger than ever.
The people stick together, they work together. When something happens, a tragedy for a family, it's amazing support. When the railroad had the head-on collision a year ago, the railroad just couldn't believe the support from the community.
Robinson says the city also boasts a great school system and family-friendly atmosphere.
You know, guys, the Canyon Main Street is kind of being revitalized a little bit. We have a new restaurant down here, Brick Street. Got some cheers for that back there. It's a really good restaurant we'll be trying out later. So a lot of cool stuff still coming to Panhandle.
It's great to see these small towns kind of revitalize their downtown and their histories, and you know, that way they can continue to grow. Very
Yeah,
cool.
And they clearly love living here. So
Yes, definitely. All right.
Yes.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thanks, guys.
And in a related note, known as as Panhandle's ultimate labor of love is the Conway Community Church. The more than 100-year-old church was abandoned in Conway until about 30 years ago, when a younger Carson County generation started finding pews and painting and even an organ in old barns. To honor an older generation, they decided to move the church from Conway to Panhandle to restore it. In 1991, they took a complicated 9-mile, 6-hour journey to make that happen.
They had to work with the highway department because they had to shut down roads. They had to work with the railroad because they had to stop trains from coming. They had to work with all the electricity and the utility companies because they had to drop lines.
Well, the Conway Community Church is now part of the Carson County Square House Museum and is still used for weddings and other events.
Well, coming up, we're going to highlight one of Panhandle's newest schools.
And speaking of the schools, we're going to talk with the superintendent when we return on the Summer Celebration Tour in Panhandle.